obviously, a lot of the people that have come up and been sharing with us, it's a lot of people in the tech industry, which for me, that stuff's awesome. It's so, like, I can't even conceptualize with some of that stuff and like how much that's grown and how important it is to our day-to-day lives. Like for me, about the extent of my tech, besides satellite communications that I used when I was in the military, was learning the long snap from watching YouTube and Googling it, you know. So I don't have a ton of that experience, but I have a very different experience, and something that I think is really special about some of the young men that I've met over the last 2 days and got to spend time with. I don't know if Justice is still here, but Justice, if you are, I don't think he's here anymore. Anyway, Justice, his parents were police officers, and he went to Texas Tech. He was a Campbell finalist, and he's moving up to Denver to go be a police officer now. With a name like Justice, I figured, you know, he had to do something in that realm. He was kind of pigeonholed a little bit, but I thought that was really special. You know, it's really cool to hear what DT's doing. He wants to be a high school principal, and you know, and then we got Terry over here who went to West Point. He's going to go be a ranger, you know, and then he just left. I was going to give him a big old shout out, but Chris Howard, if he's still in the hallway, you know, he's a president of Robert Morris and a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, and just an incredible career. So I'm not hating on tech. I'm just saying you don't have to do that. There's so many ways you guys can be innovators in any field, and there's so many different ways to change the world. And just to be around that these last few days and hear some of you guys, it's really inspiring to me, because I still feel like I'm trying to innovate. I'm trying to always, you know, grow and change and transform in some way and just be the best human being I can be. I grew up here in the Bay. I grew up mostly a mix between El Cerrito and Pleasanton, which El Cerrito is probably 20 miles from here. Pleasanton is probably 30 miles from here, both east. So I grew up a big Niners fan. I was a Cal fan, but now I'm kind of a Stanford fan. My old DB coach at Texas is the DB coach here now, Dwayne Aquina. And you know, I grew up loving football. I never played growing up. I played a bunch of other sports. I love basketball, I love baseball, I love football, at least watching wise more than anything, but I didn't play when I was really young. And I remember being like 14 and getting ready to go to high school and thinking, it's too late, you know. I'm 14, all these kids have been playing since they were 8, I'll never catch up, you know, I'm too old for this. And so I didn't do it, and I regretted it, and you know, that'll come back at the end of the story here, but you know, for me it was, you know, we talk about purpose, we talk about, hey, you know, how do I fit in the world, how do I make a difference? And to me, I stole this from somebody, it's not an original quote, but the best way to describe purpose is doing what you love to fight what you hate. And the person who told me that, he's an amazing dude. I don't even know him that well, but he lives up in the Pacific Northwest. I met him when I was with the Seahawks for a short time, and he's a very passionate human being, very highly educated. You know, but his whole mission is you know, ending child slavery. Like, that's what he wants to stop. So he has a number of projects, and he loves climbing mountains. So he climbs mountains to raise awareness and raise money for these projects. And so anyway, I love that quote. How do you find your purpose? That's the toughest one, because everyone's like, all right, I know I need to have purpose, but like, how do I find it? How do I even know what I want to do, who I want to be? Like, I don't even really know exactly what I like. I know I'm interested in a lot of things, but like, how do I find that? And I think the number one way, the best way to find that, it takes time, it takes commitment, and it takes some sacrifice, but you have to get perspective somehow. You got to put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable. You know, you've got to follow those leads that maybe scare you a little bit, or those things that, you know, are tugging at your heart, but you're not sure if you're quite able to do them, or if you're even the right person for that, or you're worried about what everybody else is going to think. You know, if they're going to make fun of you when you fail. Those are the things you need to look into, you need to pursue, especially if you're sitting in this room, because obviously you're very capable. You know, for me, I graduated high school. Both my parents are very educated. My mom's got a PhD, my dad's a racehorse veterinarian. So it's like family of doctors, and you know, I get out of high school and I didn't want to go to college because I just was a rebel, and you know, I didn't know what I wanted, but I just was like, I don't want to do what I'm supposed to do. I want to do my own way. But it ended up working out because, you know, I gained a lot of perspective by taking that path personally. I moved down to San Diego. I started working on a fishing boat because I wanted to know what it was like. I wanted to feel like I earned my own money, you know, like I was a blue collar. I wanted that blue collar sensibility. I wanted to, you know, put food on my table my way and pay my own rent and all that stuff. And I did that for a little while, and a number of other odd jobs, including bicycle taxi, the little pedicab things. I did all kinds of random stuff. She came down, got a ride one time, and we found out the owner of the company, we're pretty sure is a pimp. He was trying to recruit my mother. It was really awkward, so I left that industry. And I headed up to Los Angeles. I knew at the time I was interested in film. I wanted to do something in film. I think storytelling is very important. And I was passionate about it, and I'm like, you know, these kind of things, it changes people's perceptions about a lot, whether it's documentary film or scripted or whatever. And so I was up there. What I was really doing is kind of just partying and figuring out what I really want to even do in this industry. And then 9/11 happens, you know, and 9/11 affected everybody in this room. A lot of you guys were very young, but I'm sure you remember it. I don't think anybody was so young they don't remember that. And it affected me in a big way. You know, I grew up in a family that was very supportive. I was very fortunate. I had every opportunity to do whatever I wanted. We didn't always have a lot of money, but regardless, even when I was young, it was like they were going to find a way. They were going to find a way to give me a chance to let me try something if I was interested in it. And you know, that perspective, not understanding, realizing how fortunate I was to have that. This kind of opened my eyes to the world a little bit. And I didn't join the military right away, but I started traveling and trying to kind of figure out, you know, as my dad describes it, like what was going on in the world. And I ended up a couple years later in a place called the Darfur. It's a region of Sudan that's been in the midst of genocide for a long time, you know, and a terrible civil war. And, you know, these people over there, they have nothing. They don't really want much except for peace and, you know, a roof over their heads and clean water and food. And, you know, me getting there was a challenge. I read an article, a Time magazine article about what was going on over there, and I knew I wanted to help somehow. I wanted to get away from this comfortability. I knew it was time to challenge myself. I had to get out there and figure out, try to find, you know, a purpose somehow. And I called every NGO, which stands for non-governmental organization, if you don't know. And I was asking them, hey, I want to volunteer. You know, I'm 23 years old. I do not have a college degree, but, you know, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll fly myself over. And all of them told me no, because I didn't have special skills. I didn't have, you know, the proper training, and which I understand. But I was like, look, I'll help build the campsites. I'll dig ditches. I'll, you know, play with the kids, whatever. So after getting all those no's, I just told myself, I'm going to find a way. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go over there. I already committed to it. So I went to a AAA travel agency. I don't even know if those hard installations exist anymore. If there's any more of those brick and mortars, but I bought a ticket to the Darfur, and I flew over there, landed in the capital. The refugee camps are 20 hours drive or a 2-hour flight from where we were across the Sahara Desert, and you know, no one's speaking English. It was primarily Muslim where I was, which I wasn't used to. It's a new culture. Gained a lot of perspective there in that moment, but you know, I sort of BS'd my way onto a UN flight and got over to the camps. And sometimes little white lies are okay if it's for the greater good, you know. That's all I can say about that. Be honest, unless you absolutely are, you know, doing it for somebody else. Then, and I got over there, and it was nothing like I expected. You know, I was expected to be on the front lines of like this, you know, war. And where it was at the camps, I mean, they were far enough from the front lines that it was just the result of the war, you know, the aftermath. It was kids that, I don't even want to get into the details described because it's too sad, but you can only imagine. I mean, missing body parts, missing family members. Most of the women in the camp had been raped. The men were either killed already or off fighting. And all these people were the most generous, like welcoming people I'd ever met, and they just wanted to sit down with the crazy American that, you know, somehow got over there and hear what life was like in the States and hear my story. And I didn't really have a story, but you know, just to be able to share with them and try to provide a little bit of hope, and then, you know, also for me, I gained so much pride for where I came from and what we have here and how others really do view it. You know, a lot of times in the media, stuff gets painted certain ways, you know, and it's all this negative. You only see the negative, and it's really sad because there's a lot of positive in the world. And there's a lot of good people that have gone through some really hard stuff that are coming out on top and are doing amazing things, even in little villages like that. And I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about, you know, just service. You know, just doing something for others, expecting nothing in return, just because it feels good. And I mean, everybody that's come up here that talked about Bill, that's like the, you know, the underlying message every time. He was all about service. Whether it was, you were talking about, you were talking about like in his faith, you know, in religion. It was like, it wasn't so much about the dogma and structure. It was about faith and service. When it comes to him being a Catholic, I think that's really powerful. I loved hearing that because I struggle a lot of times with my faith and all that, you know, because I feel like maybe I don't do the right things and do it the right way. But that's really powerful to hear. You know, and from my time there, I made the decision that I wanted to keep serving. But more than that, I felt like I wanted to fight for these people. I wanted to fight for those that can't fight for themselves. So my last week in the country, I actually got malaria and was bedridden for like 3 days. And once again, I won't get into the details, but you can only guess. Talk about a blowout. I had to. That was gross. But anyway, I'm laying there. I'm like cold sweats, can't eat anything. And this little radio in this little next to the cot that I'm sleeping on, and it's got the first Battle of Fallujah, like the play-by-play on BBC, happening. And I'm listening to this, and you know, once again, I felt like I wanted to find a way to serve, find a way to fight, and that renowned patriotism that new patriotism that I'd have, that I'd felt, it kind of overwhelmed me, and I just knew I wanted to join. I had to join the military. I'd come back, join the military. I didn't know what I was going to do in the military, but that's what was going on in my mind. So I came back and I researched it, and found out about the Special Forces, the Army Special Forces, the Green Berets, and what they do. They go to the most austere environments in the world. They fight alongside indigenous forces. They train them, they live with them. It's foreign internal defense. Everything we do is by, with, and through the local people. So we're going to Iraq, we're going to Afghanistan. We become brothers with them in a sense, and you know, we're looking out for their best interests. We're doing everything we can to stabilize, but then also hand off a product that they can defend themselves, you know, and hopefully someday, you know, that happens with what we got going on right now. It's struggling, it's frustrating, but all I can control, all anybody can control, is the environment around you, the people you interact with, the way that you do your job. So, so I did it. I went over there. It was all because I gained perspective and I put myself in these uncomfortable positions that when I went out to train, when I went to Special Forces selection, I was not in good shape. I was not a healthy person. I didn't work out really back then. You know, basic training, I'm like getting my butt kicked 3 weeks in. I'm like one of the least in shape in the class. But I had this vision, this idea of exactly who I wanted to be now. Didn't even know what exactly I would do, but like that person, you know, that idea of a hero in your mind. That's who I wanted to aspire to be. And so I went through basic. By the end of it, I went from doing 29 push-ups in 2 minutes in the PT test to 145, you know, just in 13, 14 weeks. Because I did extra. Every day I did extra. I did more than everybody else. I was in the office later than everybody else. And I would go down to the track and put my body armor on and do like a mile of lunges or something that I didn't think I could do, something that I wasn't sure I'd be able to complete, and I would just do it. And it didn't, like I say, it didn't suck. It totally sucked. But when you complete those things, when you challenge yourself and you give yourself these like ridiculous goals that you don't even know if you can attain, and then you attain them, even if it's not some big grand service, you know, plan like that wasn't. You develop that confidence and just that belief that you can literally do anything. And I started to feel that. I started to really feel that. And I went through my time in the military, and I went on deployments, and it's 2009 now. I got to make a decision whether I'm going to re-enlist or not. And I'm the tail end of my trip in Iraq, and I decide I want to go back to college at that time. And, you know, I didn't tell my mom yet. I didn't tell anybody yet, but I wanted to go back to college. And I wanted to try out for the football team. I wanted to do that thing that I always wanted to do that I didn't, because I regretted it, you know, not doing it. So I started training. I started training in Iraq. I was like running routes in the sand. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, and you know, backpedaling. There's like Iraqi guards in the towers, just like looking at me like that. I'm like, pay attention, full security, don't look at me. But yeah, I came back to the States, had one more quick trip to Israel, found out when I was in Israel that I got accepted to the University of Texas, and went out there. First day, I get out of the Army, the next day is the first day of school, so I drive straight down, check into a Motel 6. The second day of school was the first day of tryouts, so you know I get out there. I messed my ankle up on a skydiving jump in December, and this is in January. So I got this big stupid ankle brace on. I'm already like the old man out there, you know, 10 years older than everybody else, all the other freshmen. And you know, I'm out there just looking like an idiot, but going harder than everybody else. You know, I'm ready to run through a brick wall, running that 4.940 as fast as my little legs can run it. And but just going hard, you know. And coaches notice that. People notice that work ethic. And I was able to make the team. Went back into the National Guard, because I still wanted to maintain that service connection. You know, I miss doing that job. I miss fighting for others. You know, and not that you're not doing that on the football field to an extent, but I miss that service element of my life. And so I went back in the National Guard. Every summer I played football. I would go overseas. I went up to Bulgaria one year, Greece the next, and my last 2 summers I went back to Afghanistan, and got. Honestly, my last deployment, I got some of the biggest firefights in my life. This is in 2014. It's not that long ago. And you know, I'm over there between my redshirt freshman and sophomore year. I got to run down on one kickoff my redshirt freshman year against Tech, and I caught the bug. You know, I got blown up by this guy, and then like I threw this other dude down. I was like 30 yards from the tackle from the play. It didn't matter though. I was like, all right, I got to find a way to meaningful snaps. So started long snapping. So the starter was graduating, the backup was graduating. They recruited a new guy to come in, and they had some other guys on the team that did it. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just, whatever it was, you know, thankless job, I'll take it. I've done it before. And I go back overseas and I start long snapping. I start messing with it, 100 snaps a day. Once again, just way more than you're supposed to do, over the top training. And came back and won the backup job. After the first game of the year, I won a starting job and started for 38 straight games. And you know, I had an opportunity with the Seahawks, and that was awesome. That was amazing. But you know, being I think of all the like accolades or you know medals or whatever, to be completely honest, being a first team academic All-American, being on the All-State Good Works team, finishing my master's degree, taking some classes overseas on the last deployment, and then this, you know, being a part of this fraternity, being able to go to New York and you know, just meet the other, you know, winners and finalists. And Sam Acho, who went to the University of Texas, he won the award. He's a good friend of mine, and it's just amazing company. And that achievement, just being a part of this, as far as all the awards, it trumped all of them, man. It really did. I mean, I appreciate that people, you know, like my story and the background and the military service. I really do, but I feel like I somewhat earned this. I mean, with, you know, the GPA and, you know, the degrees and all that, and how much I had to sacrifice to still get that done. I was proud of myself. I'm very proud of myself for that, and so I'm proud to be a part of this. And I just encourage all of you. As almost everybody has said, is just challenge yourself and don't push yourself. Get uncomfortable. Do stuff you don't know that you'll be able to achieve. If you're interested in it, you know, check it out. Throw yourself in there, you know. And it doesn't have to be. You don't have to change the world tomorrow. You're changing the world. Somebody talked about that yesterday. Changing the world. A lot of times it's that ripple effect. You know, you change one person's life a year for 25 years, and then those 25 people change all those other lives. I can't remember who that was yesterday, but that was amazing just to hear that. I mean, it's so perfect. It's ingenious. If more people did that in our country, we'd be all set. So I appreciate you guys, and God bless America.